Hey, third grade, Seminarian John Rovnak here. Mrs. Armstrong asked me to record a video to send to you since I did not get a chance to teach you at All Saints this semester. Well, here it is. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. Like I said, my name is John Rovnak. I sat in on a couple of your classes with Mr. Chris teaching you. This is my fourth year at the seminary, which is right across the quad from where you go to school. And I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, the youngest of 4 kids. No, I don't have any pets. And yes, I do play video games, probably more than I should. But now let's go ahead and talk about the real reason I'm making this video. To talk about one of the saints. One we normally call Saint Kateri Tekakwitha, but the actual proper pronunciation is Saint Kateri Tekakwitha. I'll let you try and say that now. That's really hard to say, isn't it? Well, Saint Kateri was born in April of 1656. Her father was a Mohawk chief of the Turtle Clan. Her mother was an Algonquin native, but she had been captured in a raid by the Mohawks. And yes, the Mohawks really did have that hairstyle. As was tradition of the Native Americans, she was given a temporary name at birth, and her temporary name was Yolokode, which means sunshine. And little Sunshine, when she was 4 years old, contracted smallpox. Not only she got it, but her parents and many members of her tribe did as well. Both of her parents died, and little Sunshine was so badly scarred on her face with all these little pockmarks, and her vision became really weak, and she couldn't stay out in the sun anymore. So her tribe burned down the village, moved across the river, and built a new village. And her uncle became the chief, and her 2 aunts were now in charge of taking care of her. As she grew up, her aunts dressed her up in all sorts of fine clothes, as she was the former chief's daughter and effectively a princess of the tribe. Now, the tribe lived in longhouses that some of them were several hundred feet in length and would house multiple families. The Mohawks had an interesting tradition where it was the mother's side of the family where the family was traced, not the father's side like it is in European styles that we're used to. So this new longhouse was smaller since there was less of a family. It was just the uncle and 2 aunts, cousin, and little Sunshine. Well, because little Sunshine couldn't go outside when the sun was shining, she had to wear a blanket over her head to protect her eyes from the sun, and she always had her hands out in front of her. And that's when her aunts gave her a new name when she was about 7, Tekakwitha, which means she who pushes. It was around this time that 5 tribes made a peace treaty, including the Mohawks. And the other tribes were the Onondagas, the Senecas, the Cayugas, and the Oneidas. And they formed the Iroquois Nation, the League of 5 Nations. The agreement that they made was so well thought that the founding fathers of the United States actually use much of their wording in our own Constitution when they founded our country. And missionaries, because they had made peace with some of the other nations, were now allowed to come into the Mohawk villages for preaching and missionary activity. Little Tekakwitha wanted so badly to become a Christian, since her uncle was the chief and he had forbidden it. She kept quiet and continued about her duties. By the time she turned 17, almost 10 years later, her aunts were really trying to marry her off. Well, she wasn't having it and was turning down all of the offers her aunts were trying to put together, and her aunts punished her for this. And it was about this time that little Tekakwitha went ahead and openly confessed her desire to the missionaries, who then snuck her out of the village. And she would have to travel almost 200 miles to the north, near what is now Montreal, Canada, from where they lived in New York State. She would eventually become fully Christian and receive her first communion at what was known as the Praying Castle. And she would make many friends there and spend much time helping those who were sick, in need, and in dying. Unfortunately, in April of 1680, at the young age of 24 years old, Saint Kateri Tekakwitha died. Within moments of her death, all the scars of smallpox that had marked her face and her body for her entire life since she was 4 suddenly disappeared. And on Thursday of Holy Week that same year, she was buried. After she died, she appeared to one of the priests at the village, the Praying Castle, where she had been living, and she asked him to paint her. Now, this priest had no artistic ability and was not known for drawing or painting anything. Yet, the painting that is now showing is known as the best painting of Saint Kateri that is in existence. She was declared blessed in the year 1980 by Pope John Paul II, almost 300 years from the anniversary of her death, and she was the first North American Indian to be declared blessed. And she was canonized by Pope Benedict XVI on October 21st, 2012. She is known as the patroness of ecology and of people bullied because of their faith. Her feast day is July 14th, and we should all look to follow the example of Saint Kateri. Saint Kateri Tekakwitha, pray for us.